Morning friends. Today I am going to discuss about exception handling situation in Spring Boot. You have write web applications with the REST web service call, but exception handling is a little bit tricky. Suppose you have exposed a web service to get the list of user. How you are going to do it? Now I have not done any service with the database call. I have just write using collection. I have written user object with multiple parameter, name, password, and the mail, and I have written instance variable list. And when I have called that users with the get mapping, that's a fallback method. And here when you are invoke that function, you are adding using the collections and you are returning that. And what you are going to get, you are going to get that users data. And now this is a object and it is converted to JSON. It's given by Spring Boot automatically. And now you can see the result. First is that the default value, that Rabi abc @co.com, and the other users what I have already added using the post call. Okay, and I have written that for the post call as a status as 201, and here you will see that during post call you will find that this users Swagata 2 has been added and the default users also showing. And suppose instead of users you can give like users a something different. Now you are supposed to get the exception. If you don't handle exception properly, you will get blank response. Now you don't want blank response. What you are going to do, other than users, it may be anything that is which is not defined in your class. So how you are going to do, using get mapping with the star and the fallback, and you just throw the exception. Now you have thrown the exception. You exception has been thrown. Now to handle that, you have write a model object error message with error code and error message. You have to write the default constructor with a argument constructor, and you need to write advice, that is REST controller advice. It's a global exception. And what you are going to do, add the exception handler exception dot, you have thrown the exception class, and you exception dot class, and here you have to write one function which will return the exception message, which is custom model, and you return the new error message. You can write any number. I have given 406 and the value like URI path is not acceptable. Other than users, when you are hit that, you will get as a response, it's an exception, that it's a customized exception message. uh, so it will be easier, that is that URI is not proper. Now you get the list of the users. Okay, now you need to get the specific user. How you are going to do that? To do that, you can do using without Java 8 functions, with Java 8 functions. How can I do that? You have the users, list of the users is the instance variable, and from that instance variable you can iterate it, and you can check that which users you are trying to search. Suppose here I am searching for users Rabi, and what you are going to do, and you need to iterate and check only the users object, and list of the users Rabi can be multiple, and users objects which name is username is Rabi, you will get it. And using Java 8 functions, using here stream functions, and in the filter here we are filter only, or that is allowing only that using lambda, allowing with the username which is specified here is a Rabi, that is username, and it's a collectors.list will give the list of it. So using path variable you will get the specific function. Using Java it is just one line you will get it, and in Java it's also handled for the parallel threading, so multiple thread can be handled it properly. For example, you can other than Ruby you can search for the other users which has only one, it will show only one users here. Now exception handling with the status code. Here we see that status code is 200, which is not correct. To correct the status code, what you are going to do, you need to write particular status code. Okay. To do that, fix the status code, you have to write that here you are getting that particular users, and if the users is not null, then we are otherwise what we are going to do, we are sending list of the users which is finding. Now what you can do, that if that users list, from the list of the users, if it is not empty, then we are getting the new users. And now check that whether that new users which we get from that field after filtering, if it is not null, then that is okay, and we can use that response entity dot okay new user. Previously we are using the list users, now you have changed to response entity t, and for the users which is not finding, you will get that response entity dot not found. Not found means it's a enum and it's a 404, you will get as a 404 here. So you will get the correct status code. If you find the users, you will get the status code as 200. If you don't find it, then you will find that status code as a 404. And if you just hit that other than wrong URL, and you will get that handled by global exception. Now thing is that you adding post and the request body, user without exception handling, blank or no email address, no error is coming here, right? So if we want that email message to be mandatory, what can be done? We need to handle it with exception handling. To do that, blank email address, you need to add this a e block. If that within that, when you are writing users dot add, you have to add if block, right? When you are getting users, and you have to write that users to that get email, if it is not null then only created, otherwise throws a exceptions. I can say that validation exception which is provided by Spring. Previously what we are using, that users dot add user2 and return user2. Now in the validation exception, we are throwing validation exception. In the at the rate exception handler, we are specifying validation dot exception dot class, and we are writing function and returning as a response entity string, and here we are mentioning the message. Here we specify the message user cannot be created, and also the status. And when you are trying to do that, you will get that custom message user cannot be null, and also the message status of the message. Similarly we can do for the put. Instead of exception we can use that null pointer exception. Whatever thing you are throwing the exceptions, you have to specify in the exception handler, and you will get username cannot be null, and it's a bad request, I have specified it. And changing the response status, you can write that response status http status dot forbidden. You will get that status accordingly. So this is that exception handling situation. We can do it by @exception handler and mention the particular exception class. Now you can do that exception handling more easily by Spring Boot provided. It's an inbuilt function by @valid and not empty, not blank. @valid, what you can do, uh, that you have to mention inside that uh, where you are invoking the web service. In the model, before the model, you specify @valid, and inside the model you specify @not null. Now when you are invoking it and you don't specify that, say, password, I did not specify the password here, you will, what you will find, you will find that validation error for password, validation fail for object. Okay, I think I have covered something for exception handling in Spring Boot. We'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.